If I asked you what it takes to succeed, what would you say? Intelligence, hard work, luck, perhaps opportunity, education, or connections. While all of these play a role in one way or another, they are not the foundation, they are not the root, because I've interviewed the titans of industry. I've sat with millionaires who had no college education, with inventors who failed 1,000 times, with leaders who started with nothing but a dream and still built empires. The real difference, the only difference that creates lasting success, is what you focus on. And if you want to succeed deeply, permanently at the core, you must focus on the three most important things: definiteness of purpose, self-discipline, and faith. These are not mere suggestions, they are laws. Spiritual laws, psychological laws, and practical laws. Disregard them, and you will drift. Master them, and you become unstoppable. Let us begin with the first and most vital pillar: definiteness of purpose. A man without a purpose is a ship without a rudder. He is easily blown off course, reacting to every breeze, every current, every distraction. But a man with definiteness of purpose, he is like a guided missile locked onto a target and immune to distraction. You must know exactly what you want. Not generally, not vaguely, exactly. The universe does not reward confusion, it responds to clarity, clarity of desire, clarity of vision, clarity of direction. Ask yourself right now, what is my one definite chief aim? Not 10 goals, not 5 dreams, one. One that dominates all others, one that consumes you. One that wakes you up with fire in your belly and pulls you forward even on the hardest days. Until you decide that purpose, you will live in a state of quiet frustration. You will achieve things perhaps, but they will feel hollow, scattered, disjointed, because without a central aim, your energy is diluted. And diluted energy produces diluted results. Once you know your purpose, you must write it down. See it daily. Speak it aloud. Imprint it into your subconscious mind through constant repetition. When your purpose becomes a part of you, when it is more real to you than your circumstances, then you begin to move with power. You make decisions faster. You say no more easily. You recognize opportunity immediately, because your mind is trained to filter the world through your aim. Definiteness of purpose is not about being rigid, it is about being directed. It gives meaning to your discipline. It gives urgency to your time. It gives clarity to your vision. Without it, your days drift. With it, your life accelerates. But purpose alone is not enough. It must be matched with the second great pillar: self-discipline. This is where most people fail, not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't do it consistently. Success is never a single act. It is the compounded result of daily decisions repeated over time in alignment with your purpose. Self-discipline is the bridge between intention and execution. It is the difference between wishing and winning. It is the quality that transforms dreams into plans and plans into progress. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is often boring, repetitive, thankless, but it is the root of greatness. Without it, talent is wasted. Vision is scattered. Momentum is lost. Ask yourself, what are the 5 things I must do daily to advance my purpose? Then make a vow. I will do these things whether I feel like it or not, whether I'm tired or inspired, whether I'm supported or criticized. That is self-discipline. It is not about punishment, it is about alignment. You are aligning your behavior with your belief. You are aligning your time with your vision. You are aligning your action with your future. And here is the secret. The more you exercise discipline, the easier it becomes, because your subconscious begins to identify you as the kind of man who follows through. And once your identity matches your action, your behavior becomes automatic. Discipline is also about subtraction. Not just what you do, but what you no longer tolerate. You must remove distractions, eliminate noise, starve your weaknesses, kill procrastination. Say no to anything that does not serve your purpose. This is not harsh, it is loving. You are loving your future so much you refuse to compromise it for temporary pleasure. But even purpose and discipline are not enough without the third pillar, faith. And when I say faith, I do not mean blind optimism. I do not mean wishing or hoping. I mean an unshakable belief in a power greater than yourself, a power that responds to thought, a power that multiplies your action, a power that cannot be explained by logic but is confirmed by results. You must believe deeply and absolutely that you are being guided, that your purpose was given to you for a reason, that your desire is divine, that when you align with your calling, the universe aligns with you. Faith is the fuel that sustains you when progress is slow. When doors close, when people doubt you, when fear whispers, it is in those moments that faith must speak louder than fear. Faith says, even though I don't see it yet, I know it's coming. Faith says, even though the evidence isn't here, I will keep moving. Faith says, I was born to do this and nothing will stop me. This kind of faith is not passive, it is active, it is courageous, it is powerful. And here is where most people go wrong. They wait to feel ready before they act. But readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. The winners are not those who felt confident every step of the way. They are those who acted before they felt ready and let faith carry them through the unknown. When you combine these three, definiteness of purpose, self-discipline, and faith, you become dangerous, you become magnetic. You begin to attract people, resources, ideas, and events that align with your mission, not because of luck, but because of law. The law of cause and effect, the law of vibration, the law of attraction. Your energy shifts, your posture changes, your language evolves, and your environment begins to reflect the power you've claimed within. But let me be clear, this is not a one-time event. This is not something you try. This is something you become. You become a man of purpose by living from purpose daily. You become a man of discipline by acting with consistency daily. You become a man of faith by choosing belief daily. And over time, the gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to shrink. Not because the world changes, but because you change. You start walking differently, speaking differently, thinking differently. People will notice. They may not know what changed, but they'll feel it. That's the power of alignment. That's the power of inner congruence. And so, I ask you now, what is your one definite chief aim? What are the non-negotiable disciplines you will practice daily? What belief must you hold, no matter what the outside world shows? Answer these three questions and you will possess more power than most men ever discover in a lifetime. You are no longer searching for success. You are creating it through focus, through alignment, through will. Now that you understand the triad, definiteness of purpose, self-discipline, and faith, you must begin to apply them not only as ideas, but as the very system by which you live. To simply know the truth is not enough. It must become a living, breathing force in your daily experience. So let us deepen each one. Let us apply them, test them, and engrave them into the foundation of your identity so you no longer do success, you live it. Begin with purpose again, because purpose is not something you write once and never revisit. No, purpose evolves, it matures, and it sharpens over time the more it is tested. To truly focus your life around your definite chief aim, you must build every decision, every commitment, and every investment of time through its lens. That means if an opportunity arises that doesn't serve your chief aim, it must be discarded, no matter how tempting. If a relationship, habit, or obligation competes with your purpose instead of complementing it, you must have the courage to remove it. Success is not just about addition, it's about subtraction. And when you say yes to your definite chief aim, you must simultaneously say no to all that distracts from it. Write it where you can see it every day. Speak it aloud every morning. Let it burn into your subconscious. Visualize it with emotional intensity. Feel it, not as a distant goal, but as a reality already in motion. And now ask yourself, what kind of man would naturally live out this purpose? How would he think, speak, walk, and behave? Then act as that man today, not when things are perfect, not when the opportunity is ripe. Now, act as if your future depends on it, because it does. Purpose must be precise. If it's vague, the subconscious cannot engage. You cannot say, I want to be successful. That is unclear. You must say, I will earn X amount by Y date through Z, means while serving this kind of person. Give your mind a target. Make it tangible. Make it timed. Make it specific. Because the subconscious does not respond to maybes. It responds to certainty. Let's now intensify self-discipline. Understand this. You are not your habits. You are the architect of them. And the architect can choose what gets built, what gets reinforced, and what gets destroyed. Discipline does not come from motivation. It comes from decision. It is the ability to do what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. In fact, every time you act when you don't feel like it, you are strengthening your identity as a disciplined man. Discipline is forged in the fire of resistance. You are not weak when you struggle. You are being shaped. Do not run from the difficulty. Use it. Welcome the discomfort. It is proof that your old identity is dying. Ask yourself, where do I compromise? And eliminate it. Discipline is not just what you start doing, it's what you stop tolerating. Tolerating excuses, tolerating average effort, tolerating emotional reactivity. These are all signs that discipline has not yet taken root. Create rituals, systems, triggers for excellence. Make discipline your default, not through pressure, but through design. Wake at the same time each day. Guard the first and last hours. Plan tomorrow before you sleep. Move your body daily. Feed your mind with power. Refuse to negotiate with your standards. This is how the extraordinary becomes ordinary. Through rhythm, through repetition, through commitment so strong that it becomes identity. Discipline becomes a way of thinking. You no longer ask, do I feel like it? You ask, does it serve my vision? This shift alone will separate you from 95% of the population. And now, faith. Not religious dogma, not superficial positivity, real, activated, immovable faith. The kind of faith that does not wait to see, but acts because it knows. Faith is not a passive state. It is a force. It creates. It sustains. It commands reality. What you believe, you begin to become. Not because belief is magic, but because belief dictates behavior, and behavior builds results. If you believe you are called to do something, you will endure what others quit. If you believe the vision is certain, you will ignore distractions that derail others. If you believe the outcome is yours, you will not rush, you will align. And here's the truth. The universe meets you at the level of your faith. A man who believes halfway receives halfway. But a man who moves with full conviction, even when the evidence is missing, becomes magnetic. People sense it, they feel it, they trust it, and circumstances bend to it. Faith is not loud. It does not boast. It does not beg. It stands firm. It acts boldly. It speaks with certainty. And let us not forget, faith must be directed. You cannot simply believe in yourself in general. You must believe in something specific. Believe in your ability to complete your mission, to achieve your goal, to outlast the hardship, to finish the work. Write down what you believe. Speak it aloud. Speak it when you're alone. Speak it in the face of fear. Speak it when no one else does. Train your subconscious to expect success. And understand this, faith is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of fear. It is saying, yes, the doubt exists, but it does not control me. Every time you choose faith over fear, you claim more ground for your purpose. So now I ask you, do you truly believe in the purpose you've chosen? Do you trust yourself to remain disciplined no matter the circumstance? Do you walk and speak like a man who knows that success is already done in the unseen? This is the standard now. Anything less must be rejected. The man who possesses purpose, discipline, and faith is not ordinary. He does not wait. He does not wish. He decides. He moves. He becomes. And in becoming, he changes not only his results, but his entire experience of life. He experiences peace because his purpose is clear. He experiences power because his actions are consistent. He experiences progress because his belief is unshakable. This man does not need validation. He validates himself through his habits. This man does not fear failure. He uses it as fuel. This man does not envy others. He is too focused on executing his own mission. And if you've listened this far, if you feel the truth of these words, then you are that man in the making. You are no longer chasing success. You are building the life that guarantees it. If you've walked with me this far, you're not looking for surface level strategies. You're not asking how to stay motivated for a week or how to feel better when life gets hard. No. You're here to master something deeper, to construct a way of living that cannot be shaken by the winds of circumstance, that cannot be broken by temporary setbacks, and that rises above mediocrity with every breath you take. You're here because you've tasted what happens when you live with purpose, when you act with discipline, and when you believe with unrelenting faith. Now, you must learn how to maintain it, how to protect it, how to multiply it. It begins with recognizing a fundamental truth. What you focus on expands. Most men live in a state of distracted urgency, doing too many things, chasing too many goals, absorbing too much noise, and as a result they live in circles, busy, exhausted, confused. They chase success instead of becoming it. But you are different. You have clarity now. You know what to focus on. So now the question becomes, how do you protect that focus in a world built on distraction? You must build an environment that reinforces your top three priorities: your purpose, your discipline, and your faith. Because no matter how powerful your mindset, if your environment contradicts your vision, your willpower will erode. You need alignment. Ask yourself, does my environment reflect my purpose? What's on your walls? What fills your phone? Who fills your space? What sounds are you hearing every day? Do these elements speak to your greatness or your limitations? You cannot program yourself for success while drowning in mediocrity. The subconscious absorbs everything. It does not filter. So if your world does not remind you daily of who you are becoming, you are passively being pulled backward. Change your space. Create reminders of your purpose everywhere. Leave notes to yourself. Keep your goals in your wallet. Record affirmations in your voice and listen to them daily. Watch nothing that makes you small. Read only that which stretches you. Speak only that which reinforces your identity. Success is not just personal, it is environmental. Now, let's go deeper into execution. You've defined your purpose, you've chosen your disciplines, you've built your faith. Now what? You build momentum. Momentum is the lifeblood of high performance, and momentum begins with consistency, not intensity, not perfect plans, but simple, non-negotiable action repeated every day without excuse. You need what I call a success operating system, a set of micro routines that support the macro vision. When do you wake up? What is the first thing you say? How do you set your mind? What is your first work block? What is your evening shutdown? When these elements are intentional, success becomes a pattern, not a pursuit. You no longer rely on mood, you rely on systems. And let me be very clear here. The man who operates from systems wins over the man who operates from emotion every single time. You must systematize your focus. Build daily checklists, track your core habits, measure what matters, and treat each day like a sacred opportunity to move closer to mastery. Because success is not found in big breakthroughs, it is found in the 1% actions repeated over time while others are distracted. Now, let's speak about resistance. You will be tested. The moment you step fully into purpose, the moment you begin to execute with consistency, resistance will appear. It may look like delay, it may look like rejection, it may look like fatigue, but beneath the surface, it is the natural response of an old identity trying to survive. Understand this. Growth threatens what is familiar, and what is familiar will always fight to stay alive. Do not fear this fight. Do not avoid it. Embrace it. The stronger your resistance, the more proof you have that you are shifting. Do not mistake resistance for failure. It is refinement. When it shows up, say to yourself, this is the price of transformation. This is the test of conviction. This is the gate most men turn away from, but I will walk through it. And walk you must. Because if you retreat when it gets hard, you teach your subconscious that pressure equals pause. And once that link is made, your progress will always stall at discomfort. But if you keep going, especially when it's hard, you teach your mind that pressure means progress. And with that belief, nothing can stop you. Let us now speak about integration. Your purpose, your discipline, your faith must not live in compartments. They must flow into every area of your life. Your relationships, your business, your finances, your health. This is not about balance, it is about unity. When your core focus drives every domain of your life, you create integrity. And integrity is the highest frequency of leadership. It is the inner congruence that produces outer results. You cannot live one way in private and expect power in public. You cannot compromise in small things and expect greatness in big ones. You cannot speak power but tolerate weakness in your actions. All things must align. And that alignment will be your shield. It will protect your peace. It will accelerate your growth. It will attract the right people. Because people don't follow charisma, they follow congruence. So ask yourself, where am I out of alignment with my purpose? Where am I undisciplined in small matters? Where am I doubting what I say I believe? Address it immediately. This is not a slow game. It is a daily war, and every gap must be closed if you wish to walk in uncommon power. Now hear me. There will be days when you forget, days when you feel tired, days when the noise is louder than the vision. But if your focus is right, your course will always correct itself. When you live with a clear aim, you are never truly lost, because your purpose is your compass. Your discipline is your fuel. Your faith is your anchor. These three forces will carry you through delay, disappointment, and difficulty. And they will reward you richly, not just with money, but with clarity, confidence, influence, and the deep knowing that you are becoming who you were always meant to be. So I ask you now one final time, have you decided what matters most? Are you willing to live with sacred discipline? Do you believe without a shadow of doubt that what you seek is seeking you? If yes, then let today be your turning point. Let today be the day you stop collecting information and start building transformation. Let today be the day you declare, I know my purpose, I enforce my discipline, I live by faith, and I will not stop until the vision is made real. This is not motivation. This is your new identity. This is focus. This is power. And this is how you win. Every man carries within himself the seeds of greatness. But not every man sees them sprout, because not every man cultivates the right habits. You may have a clear vision. You may possess raw desire. You may even write down your goals and repeat them with faith. But unless you install success habits into the very rhythm of your life, into your actions, your thoughts, your decisions, then success will remain something you chase rather than something you become. Let me tell you a truth I've learned through the lives of the most accomplished men I ever studied. Success is not an event, it is a habit. It is not a moment you arrive at, it is a momentum you build. And the men who rise and stay risen are those who do not rely on willpower alone, but have programmed discipline into their daily lives. They do not leave excellence to chance. They turn it into a system. And that system becomes a structure that serves them, even when motivation fades, even when fear knocks, even when fatigue whispers, not today. The average man thinks success is about doing something big once. The successful man knows it's about doing the small things with precision over and over again until they define who you are. And if you can master that, if you can build habits that run deeper than resistance, you won't just act successful, you will become it. You'll feel it in your body, in your speech, in the way you walk into a room, because it will no longer be effort. It will be identity. Now understand this, programming success habits into your DNA does not happen by accident, it happens by intention. And it starts with one decision, that you will no longer let life program you passively. You will program yourself deliberately, consistently, powerfully, because if you do not choose your habits, your environment will choose them for you. And the world, left unchecked, will program you to doubt, to delay, to self-sabotage, and to settle. But if you take back the pen, if you begin writing the script of your days with clarity and conviction, then your habits will no longer be reactions. They will be reflections of your future. Let's begin there. The first and most critical step is to realize this. Your habits must be rooted in identity, not outcome. Most people build habits around what they want to achieve. They say things like, I want to lose weight, or I want to get rich, or I want to be successful. But wanting is not becoming. And the man who builds his habits around outcomes will always abandon them when the outcome feels far away. The man who builds his habits around who he is becoming, though, will persist because every repetition is a vote for that identity. So instead of saying, I want to become successful, say, I am a man of discipline. Instead of saying, I want to get fit, say, I am the kind of person who never misses. You see the difference? One depends on results. The other depends on repetition. And repetition is the mother of mastery. Every time you follow through, every time you keep your word, every time you say no to the old and yes to the new, you're not just completing a task. You're casting a vote for the identity of a high-level performer. And over time, those votes add up. They form a self-image. And once a man's self-image changes, his behavior becomes automatic. Now let's talk about how that image is shaped. The subconscious mind is your soil. Habits are the seeds. What you plant, water, and repeat will grow. The subconscious accepts every repeated action and thought as instruction. It does not argue. It does not judge. It simply obeys. So when you repeat a behavior, good or bad, with emotion and consistency, your subconscious begins to automate it. This is why bad habits are so difficult to break. They've been installed through repetition. But here's the good news. The subconscious can be reprogrammed at will. And once new patterns are installed, they no longer require effort. They become who you are. So how do we reprogram the mind? We begin by designing your days like a master architect, not by mood, but by standard. That means identifying the habits that reflect the future version of you and building them into your daily non-negotiables. Not if I feel like it habits. Non-negotiables. That means you don't get to skip your planning because you're tired. You don't get to skip your focus time because someone calls. You don't negotiate with your standards, you live by them. Because success doesn't care how you feel. Success responds to structure. And structure is what turns ambition into transformation. Now, many people struggle to build habits because they overestimate motivation and underestimate environment. So listen closely. Your environment is either reinforcing your habits or resisting them. If your space is filled with distraction, clutter, and low-energy people, you will be fighting a losing battle. But if your environment is clear, focused, and filled with the cues that trigger success, you make it easier to win. The most successful people design their world to support their behavior. That means eliminating temptation. That means surrounding yourself with high-performance cues. That means scheduling your time in advance, not reacting to every demand. This isn't obsessive. It's efficient, because discipline is expensive, but distraction is bankrupting. And your environment either pays you or robs you every single day. Now let's go deeper. If you truly want success habits to live in your DNA, you must apply what I call the law of congruence. That law says this: your behavior will always try to match your self-image. So if you say, I want to be wealthy, but you still see yourself as someone who always struggles, your mind will create habits that match the old image. You'll sabotage, you'll delay, you'll quit early. But if you change the self-image first, the habits will follow. And the fastest way to change that image is to start acting like the person you want to be before you feel like it. Not fake it, practice it. Speak how that person would speak. Walk how that person would walk. Make decisions how that person would decide. Because your mind believes what you do most often. And if you practice success even before you see the results, eventually your mind will catch up and say, this is who I am now. From that place, habits become automatic. Now I want you to understand the deeper truth here. You are not trying to build discipline, you are trying to become a disciplined person. You are not trying to act confident, you are trying to become a confident person. You are not trying to touch success, you are trying to build a life where success is inevitable. That shift from doing to being is the difference between temporary change and transformation. And transformation is what puts success in your DNA. But you must commit. You must build daily rituals that align with your future, not your feelings. You must become ruthless about what you allow in your space, your mind, and your mouth. You must speak in alignment with what you're building, even when you don't yet believe it. Because your words are seeds, your routines are roots, and your standards are scaffolding. And if you raise your standards high enough, the world will have no choice but to rise to meet you. That is the beginning. That is how you take success out of theory and install it into your life, your character, your very breath. Because when you live like this, when habits are no longer tasks but truths, you no longer chase success, you carry it. If you've made the decision to build your life from structure rather than from circumstance, then you're already ahead of 99% of the world. Because most people are not living, they are reacting. They are pulled from one distraction to the next, from one emotion to another, building nothing solid and wondering why their life feels hollow. But you've chosen something different. You've chosen to become the kind of person whose habits do the heavy lifting. Now, let me show you how to go from building good habits to making them unbreakable. Because surface-level routines will crumble the moment resistance rises. But habits that are programmed into your identity, reinforced by vision and supported by daily proof, those habits become permanent. They are no longer something you do. They are who you are. And that is the secret to automation. The key lies in what I call the triad of lasting change: belief, behavior, and repetition. Let's begin with belief. Every habit you attempt to build will eventually conform to the dominant beliefs you hold about yourself. If you believe deep down that you are inconsistent, then no matter how many productivity books you read or systems you build, your behavior will return to that belief. Because the subconscious mind must maintain congruency between identity and action. You cannot outperform the belief that governs you. So what must you do? You must create a new belief system, one that serves your future. And this does not happen through hope, it happens through repetition and evidence. That means affirming with intensity. I am disciplined, I am consistent, I follow through. It means visualizing daily, not what you want, but who you are becoming. And most importantly, it means taking one aligned action each day that serves as evidence of the new identity, one decision, one refusal to delay, one task completed even when it wasn't convenient. Every action becomes a brick in the wall of your new belief. And once your subconscious begins to accept that belief, the resistance fades. Your habits no longer feel forced, they feel natural. You begin to operate from power, not pressure. That's the power of internal programming. Now we move to behavior. Most people fail not because they lack desire, but because they try to change everything at once. Success is not built through grand declarations. It is built through micro decisions repeated consistently, reinforced by a compelling why, and tracked through feedback. So don't focus on everything, focus on one thing. What is the one keystone habit that, if mastered, would elevate every area of your life? For some, it's rising early. For others, it's planning the day in advance. For many, it's mastering their first hour of the morning, what I call the sacred hour. Because how you start your day sets the rhythm for how you think, how you feel, and how you respond. If you win your morning, you win your mind. And once the mind is under your direction, so too will be your time, your attention, your decisions. So choose your keystone habit and guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. And then we arrive at repetition. You will not succeed because of intensity. You will succeed because of consistency. And consistency is built when habits are made obvious, simple, and satisfying. If your new habit requires too much friction to begin, you won't follow through. So make it easy to start. If you want to read more, place the book on your pillow each morning. If you want to exercise daily, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to journal, keep the notebook within reach of your bed. These are not small things, these are everything. Because success habits are not formed through struggle, they are formed through structure. Make it easy to begin, and your brain will begin to crave completion. That craving is what creates momentum. And momentum, once built, is the most powerful force in personal transformation. Now let's talk about how to protect your habits once they've begun to grow. Because success isn't just about starting strong, it's about staying steady. And to stay steady, you must apply the law of personal accountability. This law says, what you track, you improve. If you are not measuring your habits, you are not managing them. So build a system for self-accountability. It could be a habit tracker, a morning checklist, or a nightly review. What matters is not the tool, but the consistency of using it. Because when you track, you see progress. And progress fuels persistence. Now let me speak to the moments of failure, because they will come. You will break a streak, you will miss a day, you will fall short of your standard. That is not the end. That is part of the pattern. What matters most is not perfection, but recovery speed. When you fall off track, the question is, how fast do you return? 1 day missed is an event. 2 days missed becomes a pattern. 3 days missed becomes a new habit in the wrong direction. So when you fall, rise immediately. Not with shame, not with guilt, with clarity. Failure is not failure when it becomes feedback. Now, let me introduce another principle, one that will change your relationship with effort forever. It is what I call the threshold of identity pain. This is the invisible line where your old habits collide with your new identity. It's the moment when you feel most resistant, most frustrated, most tempted to go back. But this moment, this threshold, is actually the doorway to a new level of power. Because when you push through the resistance, when you complete the habit, even when your mind screams, quit, something rewires inside you. You expand, you shift, you become. And the next time you face that threshold, it's no longer terrifying. It's familiar. And soon, it becomes easy. because you've built strength at the level where most people retreat. That is how success habits become part of your DNA. You cross the threshold again and again until it's no longer a line. It's just your standard. So what is the final truth? It is this: you are not building habits, you are building a life. Every day you rise early, every time you plan with intention, every time you speak with clarity, every time you keep your word, you are not just moving closer to success, you are becoming it. And when enough of those habits have compounded, when enough votes have been cast for your future self, you will wake up one day and realize, this is no longer hard. This is who I am now. That, my friend, is the moment you've been working for. When excellence no longer feels like effort, when performance no longer feels like pressure, when achievement is no longer forced, because success has become your nature, and that is the mark of a truly powerful man. A man whose standards no longer fluctuate, a man whose decisions no longer negotiate with emotion, a man whose habits serve his vision even when the world around him sleeps. That man is who you are becoming. By now, if you followed this message, you are no longer the same. You are not just a man of potential, you are a man of practice. You are not chasing success. You are crafting it, one action, one standard, one routine at a time. But now comes the real challenge. It's not in starting your habits, it's in making them immortal. You see, many people can build habits for a month, some even for a year, but very few ever embed them into their character so deeply that no environment, no failure, no emotional downturn can shake them loose. That is the final stage. That is when success is no longer an achievement, but your operating system. It is no longer something you reach for, it is what you default to. And that only happens when your habits are not just attached to your goals, but to your values. So ask yourself now, clearly and honestly, what do I value most? Is it discipline? Is it growth? Is it peace? Is it mastery? Because the habits that last are always the ones that are anchored to your values. If you value clarity, then you will always return to planning. If you value progress, then you will always come back to learning and building. If you value integrity, then you will never abandon the routines that make you proud of who you are when no one is watching. When your habits and your values are aligned, there is no more internal resistance. The battle ends, and success begins to move through you naturally, without friction. But here's what most people don't understand. The moment you stop upgrading your habits is the moment your old life begins calling you back. You cannot coast in this work. There is no neutral. You are either reinforcing the identity of success or allowing it to decay. And if you let just one old habit return, if you allow one standard to drop, if you let one compromise become routine, it will not stop there. It will grow. Habits multiply in both directions. So you must remain vigilant, not paranoid, not afraid, focused, because your future depends on it. You see, when your habits are pure, your mind is sharp. When your habits are strong, your vision is clear. When your habits are aligned, your results are automatic. But most importantly, when your habits are rooted in truth, you are unshakable. That is the reward of this work. Now, let me speak directly to the voice in your head that still wonders if it's possible. The voice that says, what if I fail again? What if I'm not built for this? What if I slip back into my old ways? I will tell you exactly what to say to that voice. Say this: even if I fall, I will rise again. Even if I miss, I will return stronger. Even if it takes time, I will not stop until my habits match the man I was born to be. That kind of declaration destroys doubt. Because the truth is, you do not need to be perfect to be powerful. You do not need to be flawless to be formidable. You only need to persist. And you will. Because now you know how. Now you know that your habits shape your identity. and your identity dictates your destiny. Now you know that success is not a lightning strike. It is a daily choice. Now you know that your subconscious obeys what you repeat, not what you merely intend. Now you know that your environment must be crafted, not inherited. Now you know that structure creates freedom and chaos creates collapse. Now you know that motivation is unreliable, but standards are unbreakable. And now most importantly, you know that you are not just capable of transformation. You are responsible for it. This is the work. This is the path. This is the blueprint. But only you can walk it. Only you can say, I will no longer hope for change, I will create it. Only you can decide today, right now. From this moment forward, I build my life around the habits of the man I am becoming. That man does not snooze the alarm. That man does not leave his goals to memory. That man does not chase shortcuts, avoid pressure, or compromise with distraction. That man honors his time. That man guards his thoughts. That man protects his standards. And in doing so, that man programs success into his DNA. He does not need to remind the world who he is. His consistency speaks louder than any words. His discipline echoes through every result. His habits announce him before he enters the room. That is the power you now hold. But it must be held daily. So here's what I ask of you. Choose one habit today. One behavior that reflects your highest self. One standard that reflects your future. And follow through. Not because you feel like it, because you said you would. And tomorrow do it again. And the next day do it again. And every time you repeat that behavior, say to yourself, this is who I am now. Because eventually, it will no longer be something you say. It will be something you live. That, my friend, is how success becomes automatic. That is how you build an identity that cannot be shaken. And that is how you walk into every room, every challenge, every opportunity with the calm, steady confidence of a man who doesn't need to chase greatness, because he already embodies it. So go now, not with pressure, but with power. Not with noise, but with conviction. Build the habits. Keep the standards. Walk the path. And never again wonder if success is coming. Know this. It's already on its way, because you become the kind of person who always meets it.